Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. This time another Acorn Archimedes. This one's slightly different. This one is an A3020, so it's the next model up from the 3010. It's got an internal hard disk and IDE interface on board, so it's different from the 3010. I think it's got the same RAM and stuff, it's got the same processor, but it's just got that IDE functionality. You can see it's very yellowed, and someone's obviously tried to scratch the identification thing off here, but I don't know, maybe the case will come up a lot cleaner. You can certainly see the keyboard has seen better days. It's very dirty. I've got a replacement keyboard, actually, one of the ones left over from when I looked at Xavier's Archimedes machines. So a special thanks to Electron Ash for sending this, and he sent a number of other things that you'll see coming up as well, and I'll perhaps talk about Electron Ash as we go through the series here. So I think to start with, I'm going to power this up actually. We'll connect RF, because these have a modulator, don't they? Now the interesting thing is the A3010 has a modulator. This does not. You've got VGA out, and that's it pretty much. But you've got EcoNet here, that's different. That's a different feature on this one. And you don't have the two joystick ports. You've got serial and parallel. And then your mouse audio out. So I'm going to need to connect this up via a VGA cable to the TV, I think. And in fact, I've had to use a VGA monitor because I've not got the cable nearby. So you can see straight away it's come up with a supervisor prompt here, and it's showing 2 megs. So I mean, that's a positive sign. Seems to be booting. I'm going to connect the keyboard back up again. Yeah, so I disconnected this before powering it on, just to have a look at the board. I actually pulled the shielding off and had a quick look. There is some corrosion. Certainly you can see 1 or 2 wires and things up here, so it could just be a corrosion issue on this. Hopefully there's nothing majorly wrong with it. So let's just get that in position and try and get these back on. Now I do have a spare keyboard, but the membrane's got a tear in it. Do you know, I can't get that in. So I held down R when powering it on, didn't do anything, and then I held down delete, and you can see we've got this message here: error, data abort on data transfer at and %0 error number, and 8 and then 7 or so zeros and a 2, I think, or 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros and a 2. So we've got a problem there. Now the fact it's saying data transfer makes me wonder about communications, you know, like with the IDE maybe. That's possible. Maybe there's some sort of, it does some sort of test, check the IDE, and there's something weird going on with the IDE. Let me just try holding delete again, switch it off and on, just see if we're getting consistent behaviour. I'm sorry it's not very visible, there's a massive light bloom on that screen there because the angle we're at. Holding delete down. It says analog out of range. Hang on, it's coming up now, same thing. So yeah, that makes me think potentially an IDE fault. I might just try removing the IDE drive in case there's something wrong with the drive perhaps. So I've pointed you downwards there. We'll just carefully disconnect the ribbon again here. What I would say is this is harder to get this ribbon off than the 3010, because that first one there is kind of set back almost in line with this piece of metal here. It makes it quite difficult to reattach that. But just like a 3010, there are screws that hold the shield on, they're all missing, and it just sort of slides forward like, hang on, like that, and then you can remove the whole thing. So it's just, you've got to be careful with the power supply obviously. Disconnect the floppy drive, and the speaker connector is down there as well. So you can see the hard disk in there. It's a nice little small Seagate drive that. So I've got battery at the back that's been fitted on there. You know what, it's not bad condition, this board actually. So you never know, there could be these buffers here. It could be something as simple as like buffers for the IDE drive. It could really be that simple. And again, like the 3010, the power supply is on board here. There's a bit of corrosion over here. It makes me wonder if some of these caps may have leaked, but yeah, we can inspect that later. I might recap this one. But you see there's some corrosion back here. Can you see this on these little connections here, and this chip obviously, and all around here? It's these small caps that's probably contribute to that. These little small SMDs, electrolytics, we will need to swap out. Corrosion here again, corrosion here. What's that there? Bit of dirt. And we've got some corrosion up here as well. So I'm going to disconnect this IDE cable, I think. It's quite difficult to get that off because I'm going to get under that side there. There we go, and it's at a really tight 90-degree angle. Yeah, even around here it looks a little bit corroded. Yeah, so I think it's going to be it is going to be a corrosion job. Can you see down here? These pins are all green. I can perhaps put you on macro in a minute as I have a zoom around the board. All of these pull-ups or pull-downs here, they're all looking green. Wherever there's one of these little SMD electrolytics, yeah, it's looking greeny around the connections here, all around there, and the RAM a little bit. The main ARM system on a chip here, the ARM250, looks okay. Of course, we'll go around that with some vinegar and stuff anyway, and a fiberglass pen very lightly. We're okay over this side of the board. This just looks totally untouched. And then up here, as I sort of showed earlier, corrosion, corroded traces around this cap here, some corrosion here. Not so bad over this area, but yeah, around those caps. And obviously someone's tinkered with that. That's been reflowed or replaced. There's flux there. There's a wire here that goes all the way down the board. Some more corrosion here. You know, that little component there, that's not going to be in circuit. And the little chip here as well. And up here, these things are looking a bit furry and corroded. The chips IC, however, looks okay, but then again, there's none of those little SMD caps near it either. The battery is not leaked. The battery has not been the issue on this because everything up here is fine. So these little caps here, these are the little gits that caused the problems on the 3020, I guess. So just based on that, I'm going to do no more messing around with this now as it is. I'm just going to just take the board out, take it over to the mat, we'll use some hot air, we'll remove some of these things, clean up the pads, fit them again, you know, tin up traces where there's corrosion, swap out the caps that I've got. Some of the smaller ones I'm going to have to order in, I'm probably not going to have any. But yeah, we'll just start doing that, and then I'll perhaps retest at various points. I'm going to start over here, because that data transfer, I'm thinking it could be something here, actually. But it could also be something up here, something being enabled when it shouldn't be, so that it's conflicting with a bus, if that makes sense. It could be some of these little things up here, you know, and the traces and things around there. So before I take it over there, I am actually going to remove these nuts, and then I can separate it from the shielding and just temporarily get rid of this bottom piece of shielding here, because I want to have a look on the underside of the board too. So yeah, there are a number of these, not too many actually. That one's just going round and round and round. Oh, you can see there it's got a nut. Funnily enough, that one, oh yeah, there's a nut there as well. It's a really weird design choice, that, to have fixed nuts there. Going to need my pliers on. Going to need my pliers anyway, because can you see here, you need to get that off with a pair of pliers as well. Oh, that's coming off freehand actually. Anyway, I'll report back in a sec. And you've got to detach the power cable here. You can see I'm having to remove this little nut here. It's a bit of a crazy design choice, this. Just try and get that off. There we go, that's the nut off. And then we can unclip the power thing there, and then the power cable can come out. The grommet is missing from this, I noticed. The cable just like is pulling out freely like that, so we will have to replace that grommet with something. Is that going to fit out of there, or is that hole not big enough? I don't know. Yeah, it will just about fit. Finally. Because if you don't disconnect that, then the shield won't separate properly from the motherboard. There we go. So I'm going to start here with a little bit of vinegar, actually. We'll just have a scrub around these areas that look to be affected. And I will use the toothbrush later as well. Just right now, I just want to just go over the traces that are affected and connections that are affected. Use the fiberglass pen a little bit and just see what I see. Maybe even do some connectivity tests on a few things, just to see if it's an obvious fault. It's looking so much better already there, just for having given that a little wipe. But going down the side of there with a toothbrush is a good idea. So I'll get some more vinegar, and we'll just have a little wash around here. It's not too bad actually. It's not too bad at all. It's quite superficial in places. Sometimes you can find that after you've done something like this, suddenly it springs back to life, because the corrosion is conductive. Once you've neutralised it like this and then wash it off, you know, sometimes you can find things just start working because that bit of conductivity is no longer there. And likewise, sometimes you can find it's even worse after doing this, because some conductivity that was there is no longer there, if you see what I mean. There's conductivity you don't want, and there's conductivity you do want. But yeah, that is not bad actually. Yes, this area is looking a lot worse. That component there looks like that's not going to be in circuit. That, you know, it's going to be floating on the pad, I think. And of course, if the corrosion's got under here, we might need to remove all of these little pin header things and replace them. Yeah, you can see how dirty that is. So let's have a clean up here. Now I think this is the audio coupling. That's why you've got these two caps here. I think there's like left and right channels, and it's right next to the audio connector here. So this is not going to be causing us our, you know, show-stopping problem at the moment, but it may mean there's no audio, or only audio on one channel, for example. And of course, some of the traces here could be critical traces. It might not, you know, you can't just say, okay, that's audio, all audio section. There could be some critical traces that just hop on by past that area there, through the middle of it all. That's sometimes the case on some designs, although a lot of the time the designer will try and avoid that sort of thing and keep you know, important digital traces away from an audio section, for example, because you'll get noise and things like that. So yeah, it would be a bit illogical if there was a critical trace running right through there. But you know, there are some critical traces. But there are some critical traces here, look. So you know, corrosion could be breaking a connection under there for sure. Remember, I'm not trying to get this super clean off a wasp using the toothbrush at this stage. I just want to just clean up and then be able to inspect and use the fiberglass pen a little bit in places, and we'll scrub it later and give it a number of washes. So let's now just focus in on here a little bit. I'm just going to just gently go over the bits that are related here. Let's try and get on top of that. Because I can test connectivity. If I can get enough of the surface cleaned up there, I can then put the multimeter on it and do a connectivity test to make sure those are joined. We'll clean that IC there as well, on both sides. Yeah, these things here are not bad. It was just really these two that were the issue there. But you know what? I don't think that's the issue. It's too superficial, unless something was joined where it shouldn't be. We've got something there. What's that? A bit of dirt. Again, it's just superficial here. I'm not really seeing anything that would account for a problem. Anyway, let's now do the area that I think could be the issue, but it's just a guess based on that error message. I mean, that error message could relate to absolutely anything. Yeah, they said that side there's worse. You know, it's far worse than the other ones I've cleaned up so far. And it is just that one side. It could be a faulty chip size C. Now, I'm not sure if that's the same chip that you get on a 3010. It looks a bit different to me. It might not be. I suspect it is. I suspect it's one that has IDE support. So let's give those a clean, because they're looking very dirty. I'm just trying to be light with the fiberglass pencil here at the moment, because I don't want to smash anything off, and I don't want to make lots of marks and things on the board. I just literally want to give a quick clean there so I can see better what might be going on. Let's try this side here. It could be that one of these is faulty. Now, I think this is the same part they used on the joystick ports on the 3010, actually. So I've probably got some of these in stock. These I think the HC 573s. It's like a latch, isn't it? I think. So I think it, you know, literally latches and reads the data in a byte at a time on each of them, so you've got 16 bits presumably. I mean, it's a 32-bit processor, the ARM CPU here. It's a RISC processor, as I talked about throughout the different Archimedes videos. That looks so much better. Looks so much better there now. You never know, there might be some minor miracle. I might plug this in and find it works. Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, you're not going to Adam and believe it. Just watch this. It is literally just some surface corrosion. So I'm very pleased I can finish cleaning this up now, and we can reassemble it, and we're done pretty much. We'll need to service the floppy drive and stuff and test it fully. As you can see, it boots. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I think I am tempted to, at this point, connect the hard drive up and test it with that. Yeah, I think I was onto the right guess right at the start here. Data transfer error, because after connecting the hard drive up, it was okay from the desktop. I enabled it on the desktop. I'll show you that in a minute. I added an ID drive and I could access the drive. I could go through the folders, and then I tried one or two things and it would freeze, and then it would respond. You could hear the drive again, and then suddenly it would freeze. I think it's this drive, because having booted it with the drive connected in terms of its Cmos settings, it knows there's a drive from boot. It's trying to boot from this, and it just freezes with a black screen. You can see that there. If I cycle the power, you either get a black screen or data transfer error again. So I'm confident that there is an IDE fault with this, and I think the corrosion around those 574s, it's frozen there. Now I think if I switch that off and we disconnect the drive, I suspect that that will boot back up again. God, who designed that there? It's just crazy. Because you've got to try and lift it without damaging the pins. You know, if you just lift this too much on one side or the other, you will bend the pins. There we go. Just pull that off. Could of course be some corrosion around there still. Let's try that again. See what happens this time. Flashing cursor, the data transfer error. Watch, and then switch it off and on. Now this might be because it thinks it's got a drive now. I bet that's going to boot this time. Oh, it isn't. Whatever it is, it's intermittent. Yeah, it is intermittent. My guess is those 574s. Let's try it again. What I might need to do now is clear these Cmos settings though, because it's looking for the drive. That might be causing the problem, I guess. Yeah, black screen look. Right, let's connect the keyboard and clear the Cmos. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is just have a gentle scrub here with a little bit of vinegar, just because under there it looks like it's a little bit green, and if we've got some conductivity there, that would cause us some weird problems as well, without a doubt. Yeah, that's looking better. You are better off flushing this away with some IPA, you know, rinsing it off, because it will just sit there. The gold contacts anyway, so it's not going to cause a problem, but you will have a little bit of the vinegar there still. Yeah, the floppy drive is not working at this point in time, and that's confusing me. Now, if I show you the drive I had lined up, this is one I had. I've not looked at from Xavier. Can you see there? The springs come through the switch. So that's the problem with this drive. So if I can't get this drive that came with it working, I'll show you something about this. Is weird. Look, it doesn't eject. There's something wrong with the mechanism here. If you do that, you can actually pull the disc out, but then it goes down. That should be the closed position, and it's not. Oh, hang on. Can you see this here? Yeah, there's a problem here. Look with this one. Oh, it's back on now. Oh, there we go. Now it's all right. So yeah, we need to do something to this drive for certain, as well as giving it a service. Yeah, quite how that came unhooked there, I don't know, but I seem to have corrected it. Right, let's give it another try. Data transfer error again. But you do find that, so you heard the drive then, more often than not, quick switch off, and look at that. That's it in the floppy drive, isn't it? A quick switch off and on. What's this? I've never seen this before in my life. I don't know what that is. That's weird. Let's try it again. Yeah, a quick switch off and on, and often it will boot. Which makes me think caps, actually. I think that's trying to boot from the floppy drive, you know. I really do. It's hitting the floppy drive when I click the button there. I pressed the right button, now it's gone to the supervisor prompt again, look. Let's take the disk out, power it up without the disk in, and then I'll put the disk in when we're at the desktop. No, that's weird. What is that? What is that? So the one thing I'm finding consistent here is weird things with the floppy drive. So like 1 minute it'll detect the drive and it'll boot, but it won't read the disk, and then other times it'll just freeze here, the point where it's trying to initialize the drive. That could point to the chip size C, but I'm thinking those 574s are interfering with the BD bus, just like we saw when the 574s were used for the game port on the 3010. So I'm going to remove those chips actually. I think they're probably, and this is a guess, I think they're probably buffering the IDE. I could be wrong, but I'm going to remove them. Yeah, so I'm going to remove this one first and test it without it, because that's the one where the corrosion was. But beyond that, I might just get some flux around these things and reflow these here, just in case one of these, or the serial or something, or the Econet is interfering because of a bad connection around one of those. It does seem to be intermittent though. So I completely forgot to record the removal of that. So yeah, a bit of flux, 2 minutes with hot air, and it's come off. So I'm just going to make sure there's no bridges, and we'll go and retest without that chip. If that does work, I'll probably swap this one as well, so it'll give me an opportunity to show you removing that one. I'll just swap the pair. I've got some of these as spare, so why not swap the pair at the same time? So, not really any more stable there. I'm just going to clean these pads up here, I think, and then I'm going to reflow the 3 or 4 small chips at the back, just to see if that makes any difference. If that doesn't make any difference, I'll pull this one off as well. Now, it may be unstable without one of these. I did find that on the A3010, if you tested without one of them, it was a bit weird. Can you see these pins here though? They've been cleaned twice with vinegar and IPA. I'm going to give those a really good thorough clean again in a minute with magnification as well. But I mean, it could be anything on here though. It could be a trace somewhere that's intermittent. It could be even a dodgy ARM 250 that's just like intermittent, or a bad solder point on it, or anything really. So yeah, anyway, we'll just finish doing what we've started really, which is just to clean up here. Yeah, they're looking like new now. So, I mean, that was well worth doing anyway. But I think what we'll do next is just reflow these at the back here. There are 3 in a line there. Of course, there could be a fault here. Maybe one of these needs replacing. But we'll try the obvious stuff, reflow first. Because what happens with corrosion is it gets underneath the actual pen. Right, I'm going to swap for my Antex iron at this point. Right, so let's just get a really tiny amount of solder on there, and let's just bob into these. The iron is literally still warming up, so yeah, it could be a few minutes before it's hot enough really. Yeah, that's not too bad after a number of passes there. First pin could be a little bit better. Yeah, that's not bad. Let's just get rid of that blob there and that one. You get the idea though, so I'm just going to do the same on that one, the same on that little one, and I'm going to reflow this one here as well. So something weird happened after testing here. I'm not sure if it's a clue whether there's, this has died now, I don't know, but some smoke started coming from here, and I think it's kind of like arcing on the connection. Let me just see if I can show you. See it? Look. Switch it off. Something weird there. That first point, I think it's floating above the pad, so I'm just going to add a little bit of flux and just solder that on, see if that makes any difference. That's the VCC connection to that, and I think it's just arcing. So maybe that's the problem, I don't know. I am not sure what's going on with this right now. It's not doing anything. Since I resoldered that pin, it's not doing anything. So that HC, well, it's not HC, it's an AS, I think, 32. That's advanced Schottky. Looks okay with the logic probe, I can show you that. we could consider swapping it. I'm going to look at the schematics in a minute, but before I do that I want to remove this one because I'm going to swap this pair anyway, just to rule out something on here. I'm going to have a bit of a scrub around with vinegar and IPA again, and blow the board dry with the hot air, just to make sure we've not got corrosion somewhere. It's acting very strange. It's acting like an A3000 that you may or may not have seen the repair of. I'll stick the link up top left for that when it's live. What seems to be happening is the floppy drive makes a noise as soon as you power it on, a couple of noises, as if the bus for the chips IC is enabled. So it's picking up random stuff from the main bus when it shouldn't be doing, or from somewhere. Anyway, that's that off. So that could indicate a problem with the ARM 250. It could also indicate a problem with the chips IC. You know, it's like it's responding to things when it shouldn't be doing, it's not enabled. Anyway, that's both of those off. But as I say, now I'm going to have a clean with vinegar, IPA, and then go retest it. But I want to make sure I have a really good scrub around here. Yeah, so my recommendation is when you get something like this, clean it all up before you do any testing, because you know what? It could get worse. That might be why this is now worse. Maybe something has died from the corrosion or from me not thoroughly cleaning when I've used vinegar and stuff on there. Anyway, let's get the flux off that bit. That's it. Definitely got no bridges there. Nothing that could be making any connectivity. And we'll just use the toothbrush and yeah, I'm just going to have a really good scrub around this area. So I'm just going to use the hot air, about 110 degrees or something, max airflow, and just blow contaminants off like this. You see quite a lot of IPA leaking off the bottom there. Look, there's tons of it. One of the problems when you clean something like this, if you're not very thorough, you move the electrolyte around and it starts to make conductivity where you don't want it. Anyway, that's alright now. It just needs a wipe with some cotton buds. Now, I didn't reflow all of that chip there, and there's a reason, because I stopped and went, oh, hang on a minute, this is for the serial. That's what these are for here, the serial port. So I can't imagine those stopping the system from booting, actually. And that's not going to be the problem, because it was just the same after reflowing those. It was still working to a degree up to that point. And I mean, now it's just not booting at all. That's the problem I've got at the moment. Yeah, you can see what I mean here about corrosion. Look at these. These are really fuzzy and furry. And it's the same up here with these. Look at these, they're green. Those are absolutely green. Can't really get the fiberglass pen on there. I'm going to use the wire brush because these are just solder points. But you know, maybe we've got some conductivity between two of those, because I did clean around there with a little bit of vinegar before, and it was just after that point actually it started misbehaving. Oh wow, it's back. After cleaning that did it. So, you know, I thought I'd killed it. I seriously thought I'd killed it. So, let's power it off. I'm going to connect to floppy drive again. And we'll just see if I can get it to read a disk. You know what, if I could get this to read a disk, I would be totally overjoyed. The other positive thing here is I haven't had any of those data errors since I have been cleaning things up. Come on, please read a disk. Read a disk, come on, you know you want to. I don't think so, because it made a noise then. There's definitely something floppy related there. But I'm very pleased because it's consistently booting there. No errors every single try. So because the behaviour was quite strange, even having removed those, the problems, you know, ensued, including that data error. I think these are alright. Now the 573s, they're not 574s. I need to go look up what those are, because I honestly don't know. I'm wondering if it's something to do with the hard disk interface here. It could be wrong, because I'm just trying to work out what's different, and this is the only thing that's different on this board. You know, these But yeah, that is bothering me. You know, why did we have some fumes come off there? I mean, alright, the pin was, you know, floating on the pad, so it wasn't arcing. There was maybe a little bit of IPA or vinegar or something still around it. Maybe that's why it was fuming. But yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen that happen. But that wasn't the actual issue. As I say, after I reflowed that and had a good clean around, it wasn't working at all after that. It's only really the last time you saw me do it, where I blew IPA off the board at an angle with hot air, that it's started to be normal again. Who knows? Maybe it won't be normal again when I fit these, I don't know. This is the nature of intermittent faults, you know. You can drive yourself around the bend trying to look at them sometimes. I'm going to start up at this side here. Sorry, I'm at my angle here, but there's not really much I can do. We'll just have a bit of a drag down here. Just do that again, a little bit more. Yeah, that's not too bad actually. Just have a bob into them. Right, so floppy drive is still not working. Let me show you. This is the one that came with it. Watch the LED here. Oh, in fact, it's intermittent. Intermittently, that oh look, yeah, intermittently that can be on. This is really weird. Let me just try a disk in that drive now and see if that works. Yeah, there could be a problem with the chips I see on this, or it could just be something bad on the cable or something. I don't know. Yeah, I've hit the floppy drive. It says drive empty every single time. Let me just try setting that there. Put a bit of pressure on the cable here. Drive empty. That is a little bit strange. You see, this is the one though, even though it says drive empty, this is the one without the switch there. So it will think the drive's empty, I think, unless that's the density switch. I'm not sure which side that is. Let's just have a look. Oh, that is the density switch actually, so that wouldn't cause the problem. So looking at the schematics here on my phone, this is the IDE connector here. It says there IDE hard disk connector, and you've got BD connections on. Hang on, BD connections on one side, BD connections on the other. So the IDE is read by the BD data bus, the BD data bus. So it is PIO mode, as I think I may have commented earlier on in the video. And that BD bus also comes down to one side of each of these 573s, you know, the 573s we removed. So yeah, it makes sense. I think that these are used in part to access the IDE actually. And the upper part of the data bus from the ARM 250 goes to the other side of that 573 actually, of those two 573s. So yeah, I think we were on the right tracks with the, you know, that data transfer right away. I think it was some corrosion around there, but there was that many bits of corrosion around the board, it's anybody's guess as to exactly what the fix was. Could be these 573s, but what I do know now, it's running from the hard disk, it boots reliably every single time we've turned a corner in terms of stability. Just the floppy drive doesn't work. So I pulled the floppy connector off on a hunch. Maybe that's the problem. I hope it is. I hope we haven't got a bad chips IC. You can see even under here it's a bit dirty and discoloured and stuff. Sorry, I'm a bit close there. So let's just get the cotton bud and some vinegar. The amazing thing is, even after flooding some IPA and vinegar and stuff around that, you can see it's not come out. It's been well and truly stuck under there. So of course we might have some bad connectivity there as well. That's something I'm going to have to inspect after I've cleaned this up. But I am hoping, fingers crossed, that that's the reason the floppy drive is a bit weird. Sometimes the LED's on all the time. It always scans for the drive, but then just says no disk present kind of thing. But that could be a fault. You know, this level of corrosion here could have created a fault there. There is a trace that runs right down here as well. I'm not sure where that goes. So I'll check that. That might be with the battery actually. Anyway, let's just have a little wipe with the fiberglass pen. So this resistor here was showing 300 ohms. Can you see that? 4.7k. And all of them here, I was measuring each one of these. That one's like a K, is it? Let's have a look. Yeah, a K. Yeah, so that one's a K. And it measures a K. What's that one there? Is that another K? That's 4K7, and it measures 4K7. Every one of these was measuring incorrectly. And I was puzzled going, why are they reading really weird? Well, it was all that conductivity there. That's, I think, was the issue. So as long as that hasn't killed the chip's IC, I think we're going to be all right. We just need to just make sure we clean this up underneath suitably well as well with some vinegar and stuff here, and just give it a bit of a scrub. Right, so let's just anchor a couple of diagonal opposites as usual, and I just want to make sure the socket is flat and straight. We'll do the one down here. You can see there was a green wire with, you know, a cut trace here, a resistor and a cap. That seems to be a factory mod. So just flipping that over, that looks to be the right way round, and it looks nice and flat and level. So I'll stick that wire back on in a minute. It went to the trace. Let's have a look. It's cut here, comes down here. It was like this one here, I think. Anyway, we'll stick that on after we've soldered all the connections here. So I've spent ages messing around with this, and you were probably screaming at the camera. The final thing I could think with the floppy drive was that darn wire on the underside. And you know what? I've reverted it, and it works. I think that was a mod. You can see the drive there. I think that was a mod to use a PC drive or something. This is one of the things when you pick up a second-hand system like this, you don't know what's happened to it in the past. But anyway, let's load that. I'm going to leave it testing for a while, but I think this Archimedes is 100% again, other than just cosmetic cleanup and a recap. I've got an error there, but bear in mind this drive is questionable. Let me try the other drive. This one obviously needs a thorough cleaning service. So after what feels like an eternity, I have a floppy drive that works. You can see I've booted Lemmings here, and obviously it does work if I explode some of them. Hang on, let's get the bomb. Yeah, I'm using the carpet here for the mouse, and obviously it doesn't work very well. Yeah, so everything is working there, but you'll notice there's no sound. It's going to be the capacitors, I'm sure. And in fact, if I bring the speaker super close, I'm not sure how near I can get it. I might have to move the camera towards it. I'm not sure if that's going to get picked up. And if you couldn't hear that, the other thing we can do is just plug into the headphone socket here. Yeah, surprisingly, the headphones work alright. Can you hear that? Yeah. So, we do have sound, but it's very crusty and not very loud from the speaker at all. So, yeah, it's going to need a recap. Now, I've looked at my capacitors. I'm pretty sure I've got the 10s and the 47s I need to do this. So, the next thing I'm going to do is get this over to the mat. We'll remove those crusty caps, clean up the pads, and get a new set of caps in. I obviously still need to finish reflowing some things here. I literally have been, rushing at this, really. So, I've scratched all the solder points on these caps up. I'm going to have a go at removing them with 2 irons, get a bit of solder onto each iron. I've tried to add solder to the cap points, but yeah, they're bad, really bad. So I don't know how easy these are going to be to remove. And the answer is hard, because that's not, oh, hang on, it's moving a bit. Let's just swap these around. So I'm going to put the solder there. Get this one on that side. There we go. That one's off. Well, it's moving now a little bit. Come on. There we go. Hopefully we didn't lose a pad there. It's hard to tell. I suspect that that's the solder. Yeah, corrosion had gone underneath the capacitor. That's often the problem with these. The one or two of these might burst with the pressure as well, obviously with heat in them. So yeah, we'll soon find out. I'm glad I'm filming this because I can't remember which way they go, so the bands are towards the top on these 2 small ones. Probably fit those first, I think, the small ones. If you heat for too long with too high temperature doing this, you can mark the board. I've done that on a 4000s where the board's been pretty corroded around there, and yeah, you can. There's some solder gone down there on that one. There's a little bit gone down there on that one. Not bothered getting solder on the cam there, as you can see. We just want to get them off. Let's try that way around. There we go. That's that one off. Of course, you'd have to be careful you don't bridge anything when you drop them like that. Let's get that one off. Yeah, there we go. So I've cleaned the pads there with a little bit of braid. We'll just now clean up all the flux and stuff. I need to get a bit more flux onto some of the little S&D components nearby, like these ones here, and reflow them. And just tin up anything that needs it, really. So let's start with the 10s. The 10s were these three here, I think. There were three small ones. Well, I think there were. Yeah, there were. I've got them on my board here, so on my mat. Yeah, let's get one there. So I just need to get the last cap on, so you can see these have all been fitted nicely, and I've covered any of these corroded traces around here. There's very little actually to do around there, it's not too bad. So if I just get that one onto the board here, I'll try and do this one on camera. I've shown you this so many times on hundreds of the videos there. Just watch some of my Amiga 4000 videos for examples of the same sorts of things, really. I'm just trying to get it equidistant. If you don't get it so that the pads are equal on each side, there is a chance that the underneath of the cap could short the rails out, because there's not a very large gap between the pads. We'll just heat a large blob of solder like that. You can't see the side, but doing the same thing over there. And then I tend to use the Antex, clean the tip, and just bob. Watch this port here. You might want to captain tape these things off, just bob in and pull out like that, and it just removes the excess. If I just tilt this one up here, you can perhaps see the same sort of thing here, just heat and pull away a little bit. And that via there, I'll just go over it to make it a bit flatter. There we go, that's not so bad. So we'll just put some paper towel there. I'll use the cotton buds again here before I go out with a toothbrush, and then we'll just flood some IPA around here and have a good brush around. I mean, you can see, you know, there's some really crusty bits like that in between there that have never been cleaned, I don't think. It's going to be useful just to give this whole area here a good scrub. And there we go, that's that area cleaned up. So there's just a couple more caps and then I'm done. So I'm not replacing every single cap on this, I'm just doing the SMD ones because they're the only ones that are leaked, and I'm sure these other caps will be fine. I pretty much guarantee it. So we've got this one here and that one over there next to the RAM. So this is the following day. It took me a good hour or so this morning to get sound working on this. Now, sound was coming out the headphone jack at the back, as you saw earlier, not from the speaker. And all it was, you can see this red wire here, the two channels are mixed through two resistors here. The bottom half of the two resistors on there on the left, there's three in total. The two on the left, the bottoms are joined together, they come to a trace down here, and then from here it goes under the board, and I think it comes up underneath this chip and joins to pin 3 on a component there. There's a little resistor there. So I tested that connectivity, it wasn't there, so I thought, rather than remove this and try and fix wherever it is, it's hard to tell because I think it jumps around a bit, that trace. It was easier just to solder away it straight from here to over there. So I'll need to finish cleaning up here. There's still a bit of flux in places. We haven't finished cleaning the board totally, but if I now click the test thing here, you hear the speaker works. Oh, there's something else as well. So the other thing I needed to do there is pin 2 here should come up to this little resistor, and it looked perfect. The pad is fine, the trace is fine, the trace was connected to the resistor, but the trace was not connected to the pad. There was just like the smallest little gap. So I just trailed a piece of kynar from the resistor there. You might just be able to see it. It's so small, it's very hard to see really. To the component here, the LM386, I think it is, the op amp. So everything is okay around there now. We've got audio. The This stuff here was not so much of a concern, it was just a little bit of reflow that was required there. But I just need to finish cleaning up. You know, I don't know whether I showed you, these pins in this corner here were a bit flaky, so I reflowed those at the point when we had instability earlier on. Didn't seem to make much of a difference, but anyway, I need to finish cleaning around some of these things. And we need to clean the wider area. You can see there's like smeary marks and things. I'll get the fiberglass brush gently around any of these things. You know, you can see they're really dull and oxidised. Now we've got some corrosion around here as well. These spade connectors could do with a clean up, and cotton buds and things, you know, and toothbrush around this whole area really. So the majority of the caps are good on this actually. The 105 degrees and stuff, and there's no signs of leakage. But you know what? This leakage here, can you see this corrosion? I suspect it's this cap here. Now there's none up there with that cap. It's just very dirty. But I'm going to swap these anyway. We'll put some Panasonic 1000 microfarad, yeah, 35 volts. I mean, they're good quality, these Rubicon, I think. But that there, would you leave it when those are all, that's green around there? I don't think so. I think those two are problematic. All these little ones are alright. You see, they don't get as stressed as these. These are the main smoothing caps on here. They're going to get super stressed with extended use over decades and stuff. So we'll swap those out while we're here. I think it'd be foolish not to. Add a little bit of solder. The iron is literally just heating up, so we'll just give it a sec. Anyway, let's just see. I can always just pull it through and then unblock the holes. You see, that side's unblocked, okay. So let's just wobble the cap on that side if we can. Let's just heat it here. Pull it through, that side's through. And do this side. Yeah, that side's moving, you can see the pin moving there, look. And there we go, we've got holes as well, so we don't need to unblock that. So yeah, you can see the greenness there. Has that leaked? Yeah, I think it probably has, actually. So that one is here. You can see this plastic thing here, it's clipped on. There's these push fit things here, and you've got to squeeze them from the other side. There's a split in that, look. Anyway, yeah, the plastic is not aged very well on that. So let's have a go with this one. Look at the size of that rail there. I mean, it's the same one here, actually, as the cap was on, but that explains why it was quite hard to desolder just using the Aco with a small tip. If you had a bigger tip on this, it would transfer the heat much better. It's not really suited to doing something like this, but you know what I'm like, I get lazy. I like to just leave the most commonly used tip that I use on there, and that's this fine one. So the next thing I want to do here before we fit these caps is have a good scrub around here, actually. It's filthy, absolutely filthy. I think most of it's dirt, to be fair. You know, this here, it's not very greeny, it's more dirt. So maybe they haven't leaked. I think the pins and the pads and things around here would all be really green if that was the case. Can you see that? They're not very green, are they? So very hard to clean down there. You can see it's all right though. There's some smears and things. It's quite difficult because you know you can't get anything there to get in between things. Even a toothbrush you really struggle with. You'd have to start removing the transformer. This heatsink's riveted on. So with these test points here, and I think that's all they are, nothing connects to them. I'm just going to go over the surface of them like this with a piece of light sandpaper because they're just lightly oxidised. They're a bit greeny, not too much, but there's no other way to get onto the surface of the blooming things. One thing I will point out, I've just cleaned off here with the fiberglass pen. You can see that was greeny before. This reset button, it can be a point of annoyance. You see, it's not a momentary one. It sticks in, it latches. And when I worked on this board earlier, that got pressed by accident. I put it back in the case. It was doing nothing. No video. The hard disk didn't even spin up. And I'm like, oh my God, what's gone on with this now? And it took me about half an hour to notice that that button was stuck in. So just bear in mind, if you're working on one of these, that can be a pain in the you-know-what. It's a strange design choice to have it latchable there. I never noticed that on any of the other models, so why they did that I don't know. Anyway, that's come up really clean. That it is literally just a little bit of oxidisation on the surface more than anything. We'll measure those two caps in a minute. Actually, I'm curious to see what they report in terms of ESR and the microfarad rating. I'm just holding it from the other side. The leg placements, they're slightly narrower on the ones I've got here because they're more modern devices and they're smaller. But yeah, I can fit it there as long as I don't squeeze it too far onto the board. So let's just trim those down. and then we'll just hold and refloat. Got way too much solder there. That's one. That's two. So one down, one to go. And there we go, both of them done. I've marked them with red dots, and I've marked the other caps that I replaced earlier with red dots as well. Just because when we stick a label on this to say it's been partially recaps, it's then obvious to somebody looking at it which ones had been swapped out. So just cleaning up the underneath of the board here. I'm going to toothbrush the whole blooming thing actually, then brush the whole lot down. It's very dirty, so you can see I removed that mod, that cap and that resistor, and we just had got one wire there. This is where I resoldered the IDC connector for the floppy drive after we removed all that furriness and conductivity from underneath it. So I've just been cleaning the base up this way. Look at this, what on earth is this? It's like a gooey, sticky thing. Is it like chewing gum or something? I don't know. It's weird. There was like a thing circling around it when I did that then. That was really strange. It's probably a life form. Oh, that is gross. What is it? I think these came from an art class, but I don't know, it's anybody's guess what that is. Well, that took some effort to remove. I've got no idea what it was. I think it's chewing gum or bubble gum or something. It kind of looks like that, doesn't it? It was like really thick and rock hard, well and truly stuck on there. And you can see most of the mark there has, and you can see most of the mark has gone off. There's just like a little silhouette around it. Might just get a little bit of plastic cleaner onto that, see if that comes up any better. I mean, I'll have a go with the plastic cleaner on the whole of the underside anyway, just see if any of these marks clean up. Oh, there you go, that one's gone, look. See that? So whatever that was, Plastex has removed it. We can just have a go at all these little black marks here. Maybe some of these will come off with a bit of plastic cleaner. Yeah, they're coming off a little bit. So both these drives are missing the button. Now I've got pink and green. Now, as far as I understand, the 3020 has a pink button, so we'll go with that. Let's just take the disc out. Yes, these are 3D printed. I can never remember which way around these go now. There we go, got the button on. These can only go on one way, because if you look at the back, can you see? The little piece there sits lower on one side. So when I put it on originally, I got it the wrong way up. I'm just going to clean in here with cotton buds in a sec, get some grease on here, give the heads one final clean and then put that back together. But you need it so that it's that way up like that, because then it sits like this down here. If you have this that way up, it sits high up like this. So then when you put it to the case, it's too high up instead of being dropped down. But yeah, it was a case of forcing it with pliers, you know, I'll show you. Squeezing like that with pliers, one side at a time until it slid into place. From the top, sorry, yeah, it goes down like that. Slide it on like that. So I've got a replacement grommet here, which should be good enough for this. And I will obviously use a cable tie as well, and we need to get the nut there for the earth. But in order to get this through here, you can see this is going to be impossible. So the way I'm going to approach this, I'll go and get another cable tie to replace that. I'm going to snip that off. We'll just push these out, just so you can see which way this is. Yeah, so the plastic thing's there. So the live, which is brown, is on the right hand side there. I'm just going to push that in a little bit. I can redo these in a minute. There you go, that one's out. And we'll do the same with the blue. There's just like a little piece of metal there, and if you just gently push it, not too hard, yeah, you can see those are out. Obviously don't do this when it's plugged in, whatever you do. Now if I snip that off there, then I can push all three of these through. I'll have to get this through first because that's quite tight, and then through the gap I can feed those through and then slide the whole thing up, if that makes sense. Quite why the strain relief had been removed from this, I honestly don't know. It just makes my life harder, doesn't it? So yeah, this is going to be a challenge, to say the least. One thing, because the wires are quite stiff, look. And two, because I think this might be quite tight on the cable. Yeah, like, am I going to be able to get this through when those two are through? Oh, I'm not so sure. It's going to be pretty tight, this. There you go, it's just going through, look. Pull those through, and up here. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, you can see this is going to be tight. But that's what we want it to be tight. So with a little bit of manipulation, might need to get some oil or something onto this, can you see what's going on? Yeah, so I'm not sure how far to go. We'll just leave it there now, and let's start to get this back together. So in order to reassemble these, what I would do is get a craft knife, and you see a little bit of metal, you get under it and just do that, push it in a little bit, because then it bends back upwards. In fact, you could even just bend it upwards a little bit, like that, on the same, on that one, because then when you slide it back into the housing, it will grip. Yeah, that should do. So it was the live on the right hand side here. We'll just push that in. Clip. You can see that's holding in place. And we'll do the same with the neutral. Clip. That's in place. Hang on, let's do that one first. Yeah, feed that through. Feed that through. Now the grommet here goes there, doesn't it? So let's push this back into approximate position here. So our grommet is going to sit sort of there, I think, like that. What we really need here now is another cable tie, I think. Slide the grommet up further, actually, and we'll stick the cable tie at the point there where the cable has been you know, I don't know, we had the grommet there previously, but if we stick that there, it's going to sink into that channel. And if we tighten that super tight, yeah, the point is here, the chances of someone having the strength to, let's just do this, to pull this through the case with this grommet, bear in mind the whole plastic part is going to go on the top here, it would be near impossible. It would be near impossible. You'd need a lot of physical force to do that. So I think that's going to be okay. So let's connect the clip back down here again. Sorry, totally blocking it. And then we'll connect the earth onto there. And then we've got a washer and a nut to go back onto there. Now this is quite hard to get on and off this this nut, if I'm honest. It's the sort of thing that maybe tilting it on its back might make it easier. You know, trying to get it to bite when you say I'm going to drop it now, aren't I? There we go, I just managed to feed that on with my fingers, and then I can use this sill here to get it most of the way on, and then use some pliers to make it super tight when we get right to the end there. Of course, one thing I am conscious about is that cable tie causing the lid to not go back on. That might be the next issue, I don't know, there might just be enough space inside there. Maybe if I could just manipulate it round so that that fits on the underside. I could always put a smaller cable tie on there. Yeah, I think it'll be alright, it'll just sort of squeeze in, I think. So with regards to the keyboard here, you can see how dirty this is. So I need to take all these keys off anyway. The keys are filthy, but they're pretty yellowed. Now I've got this partial, as you can see here, keyboard. It's got damage to the plastic bit here, so it's unusable. You know, that key would just fall off. Now I've pulled the key from here. I'm going to retrobrite that one key and stick it there, and then same with the one. Those are the only things that are wrong with this keyboard, but look how pristine that keyboard is. It looks like new. It looks like it's never been used. And of course you can see after having taken the top off here and vacuumed, it then becomes a little bit easier. You could even use a pair of pliers just to help massage these through and pull through that way. You'll certainly need to take it apart this far to get to the larger keys like the space and all that, because there's additional clips. I think those would be very difficult to pull out from the top side without damaging them. Well, that took ages. You can see how dirty that is. That really needs a disinfect, doesn't it? So I'm going to go get into the sink and give it a good scrub. Before I do that, I'll probably have to remove these. No, the colours vary, don't they? Yeah, you've got yellow here, green, 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 green. I think they're all green apart from the floppy drive one. So yeah, just pull these out and carefully put them somewhere safe. And before we fit these again, we'll clean the tops of the legs there where they mate with the membrane using a fiberglass pen. Anyway, that's okay to wash now. Right, so believe it or not, that has been in the sink and had a really, really good scrub. So I'm now going to see if using any plastic polish, if we can improve any of these marks somewhat. Some of them may clean up, others may not. Yeah, you can see there, those little ones start to go from there. So yeah, some of these, let's say, will go. Some will just be less noticeable. You can see how much better that is there. There's some blue specks of paint here. Now apparently this came from an art class, so it was like powdered paint or something all over the thing when Electron Ash received it, I think. That is working. You can see bits of blue coming off, so it's going to take a bit of time to get those flecks of paint off there. Of course, I could just try wiping over it with a bit of IPA, I think. Let's just have a go at these specks and see if I can get these specks to come off. Yeah, that scratch there is really embedded in the surface. When you're working around printed logos like this, try not to actually touch the logo if you can, or if you do need to, just touch it very lightly. I'm putting a lot of pressure there on that bit with the scratches and then just very gently around it. So we've got another scratch there. The cotton bud might be an idea, because then you can focus exactly where you want to put the pressure, so I might do that. In fact, I think I did that same technique before on the 3010s or something. Probably 3010s, because the 3000s don't have any print on the top like this. Let's have a go over here. This area is super scratched. So you can see how much better this is. A lot of these really bad scuffs from here are coming off. The key in the small areas is to use a cotton bud, as you can see, because when you use a cotton bud you just get a lot more pressure onto a focused point, but also when you're dealing with the bits near the paint, you know, this logo here, you know, all the stuff up there you can see I removed around that green acorn, and here, look, right up to the edge of it, no issues at all. And then there's a bit there. Let's see if we can clean this end up somewhat. You see that? So yeah, this bit is going to be hard trying to get in the middle of there. Let's just, it's where you put the pressure that's the issue here, so I'm trying to put the pressure into the middle, not onto the outer part where the N is, and I think I've just about managed that. There's still a little bit there. It's a bit better. Let's try and do that bit there. There you go, can you see that? Not lost any of the paint there at all. That is just looking so much better. Let's just have a go there again. There you go, that's perfect. I'm going to go lightly over here because there's just a little bit of dirt there. Hopefully you can see how much better that is. It's miles better, significantly better. So let's have a go around the A. So we'll gently go in the middle and up there, and then up here there's a bit of dirt around here, and on that side of it here. Just gently wiping there, not putting any pressure on, and hopefully you can see the A looks immaculate. That looks immaculate. So it's just this bit on the edge here now, so if we can clean this up somewhat, and I think the answer is yes. Look at that, it's incredible. It works so well. Plastics on these. The similar thing, if you can't find it, is Novus. I know what you're thinking, it's not the same lid. It is. It's incredible. I even managed to get these off with a cotton bud. Those look to be very deep gouges, but it wasn't. It's just literally you know, plastic from a cable or something that's rubbed on it, and it was impossible to get off with soap and water, and it wasn't coming off with IPA, but just a bit of focused pressure with plastic cleaner, and you can see that just looks like new, that bit there. That's incredible. So I washed that off. There's obviously lots of bits of moisture on it. Now what you can do is a bit of that. So you can see I've rehomed the first 5 keys on the good piece of black plastic, because as I said, this one's got a big hole in it. And I'm just doing this in a kind of logical manner here. We'll just, you know, I've worked out if you press both these clips at once gently with the pliers, you can get the keys out really quick, as you can see, without risking doing any damage. You hardly have to put any pressure on them at all. So I'll just do this a row at a time, and hopefully within about 20 minutes I should be done. Not too bad compared to other keyboards. That could have taken an awful lot longer. So the next thing I need to do, obviously I'm still waiting for the 2 keys I'm retrowriting here, is get the LEDs back in here. So let's have a look. And I think it just goes like that, doesn't it? And then what I would do, shown this so many times to do with these Archimedes, just use a fiberglass pen on the legs there, just to make sure it's clean when it touches the membrane. LEDs in position. This has been cleaned up previously. You can see how clean it is. I've had to vacuum it as well first because it was just covered in fluff and dust. It goes that way, there, like that, and then we can get the nice good condition back on here. So even though I'm missing a couple of keys, I should be able to go test it in a minute. Now just start clipping it together on one side like that. There was one time where I did this and I missed a clip, and then it puzzled me when we got a clip missing there, look, I think. Yeah, so someone has been in this before. It puzzled me when some keys didn't work, and it was literally just a clip not pressed in, which meant the key was further away from the membrane than it should be. So yeah, do make sure they're all clipped back in. You know, one in the middle, you might not notice it so much, but you will when you try and press a key and nothing around that area is working. There we go, all done. I will have a wipe over here because there's just the odd little bit of dirt, but that keyboard I think is immaculate. And just testing it here, the LEDs are super bright. I'm very pleased with the difference actually. Before they were pretty dim. Let's try the caps lock. Yeah, look at that, nice and visible. And the other one to check is the scroll lock, and that's working as well. So I found a brand new replacement metric screw there that just goes through the shield. There's no hole in the case for that to go into. And then one here that goes through the shield into the shell, and the same over here. I've put all the nuts back onto these ports here as well, cleaned them with a fiberglass pen, made sure each one's got a washer, and the threads are cleaned on all of them and lubricated. A tiny little drip of oil on each one before I've put them in and tightened them up. There's a little bit of rust on there, can you see that? I'm just going to clean the top of that EcoNet port there. It looks like you can fit the same EcoNet module, because it looks like it goes between that and that there. It looks exactly the same as you get on the other Archimedes models. So you could probably fit the joystick mod there that you may or may not have seen. I'll stick it up there when it's up. Yeah, to be fair, there's very little there. It's just a tiny little bit of corrosion there just on that edge. And you can see that's pretty much gone. And on the inside shielding, the only point I can see that's rusted is there. It's just like the smallest little bit of rust, so I'll just go over that. Yeah, and as I say, just a tiny little bit of WD-40 there, which is a solvent, because it will sort of stay there and should stop moisture. So this mount down here, super glued this back on. It was floating around inside the case. It's sturdy, that, so it's just one of the 4 that support the keyboard. You know, the keyboard goes in there. In fact, we'll get the keyboard back in. Yeah, you can see there, it just rests nicely on those points there. So yeah, it's just a little bit of extra support for the keyboard. The ones over this side are okay. So that split down there, I had to pull this part upwards a little bit because it seemed to be bent away from this edge, so that I've got a totally seamless edge there, and as you can see I've just touched it with the iron several times there to join that. And if you look at that now, it's seamless. If I run my nail along it, I can't find the edge, so that should deal with that split, I think. So there's probably other things you could do here, but I've just trimmed that little bit off the bottom. I'm just going to just literally smooth that down, and I'll make this top bit here somewhat smoother, just so it's not an eyesore and looks just like a larger hole at that point. And as you can see, it's come out not bad at all. Yeah, all of the marks came off. There's a little bit of glossiness in the light, the same sort of thing you would see if you used a magic eraser. That's one reason I don't like using a magic eraser. You know, where these big scratches were there. If you get it in the right light, I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to see it from the angle we're at here, but I can see just like a little bit of a glossy bit there. I mean, if I tilt it up, you might be able to see it, or not as I tilt it back. But you know what? That's come out amazingly clean. So, I mean, there's obvious damage here that may put someone off buying this. You can see a silhouette of some stickers or something. There was some, obviously, a school name or something on there. I think I worked out the name of the school for this, actually, just looking at some software that's on the hard disk. But anyway, yeah, you can see that's all scratched there. Not a lot you can do about that. I did try putting a little bit of H2O2 on there, masked off around it, and I put some H2O2 on there for about 7 hours. Is that any brighter? I honestly can't tell. It looks just as dark to me. I suspect it's the inside. I think that's a laminated piece. It's probably got a piece of clear plastic over the top of it. How you would separate it, I don't know without risking damaging it. And I think it's the actual underlayer where the print is that's faded. So, yeah, not a lot you can do about that. But if you remember how bad this area was here, we had big gouges. I mean, you can still see a bit of it going through the green acorn there, but all of this print came up clean. Every single little mark came off it. Every single paint speck. Now again, you can see it's a little bit whiter there. So it's the sort of thing, you know, I could polish this. I could literally get a load of plastic polish and spend ages polishing the whole lot, and it would come up sort of equal in colour. What you're doing is you're getting rid of the surface layer, you know, the yellowed layer, if that makes sense. The alternative might be to consider retrobrighting this, but I don't want to do that. I want to leave that up to whoever buys this. But you can see the keyboard looks pristine. Yeah, that hasn't de-yellowed quite as well as I would have liked. I could give it another go, but you can see there's very little difference. And it's the same on this key over here. It's a little bit darker, but you know what? You've got to be looking to see it. As you just look at the keyboard as a whole, you don't really notice it. So you can see here has gone back together okay, but you can see I have had to put a piece of tape to hold it because there are no clips on this part here. And I think that was probably the right course of action to do there, because it had a bit of a stub on the bottom where it had been broken off and a bit of a stub here, and you can see I smoothed them off, and it kind of doesn't really catch the eye. It just looks like an extra large vent hole compared to some of the others. So you can still see a little bit of that split there. I forgot to show you before I dealt with that, but it's dead smooth, and obviously, you know, because I welded the plastic on the inside all the way along, it's okay. Yeah, it has a bit of a chip there as well. There's nothing I can do about that. It looks like a piece is missing, if I'm honest, out of that, but yeah, it's just one of those things. So the drive has been thoroughly cleaned and lubricated, just like I've shown on all these Archimedes videos and on Amiga videos as well, and obviously the button works fine. The button is probably pinker than it should be. It should be perhaps be orange, the same as the keys. And you might be thinking these keys should be green like the 3010, but that's not the case. They did use the orange keys here, and the A3020 was aimed at the school, college, university markets. So, you know, it wasn't a home system. Now, if you're anything like me, you may think that the 3020 is a better model to own than a 3010, but I don't think so. Having looked at a number of these 3010s now, and now seeing a 3020, the only difference between them, obviously, is the 3020's got 2 meg. Now, there's an issue with that. On this particular one, you'll note there's 2 memory slots, yeah, where you expand the memory. The 3020 has got 4 smaller ones, so you need to try and find those ZIF, you know, zigzag interleaved, or zip, I think they call it, zigzag interleaved packages. And there's 4 of them. They're super hard to find. I've been looking on eBay for ages for those. Can't find them anywhere. No one seems to sell them. You might get some second-hand units from AliExpress or somewhere like that, but they're very hard to find, those zip packages. Certainly for these machines, because they're quite unusual in the size of them. Now with the 3010 you can buy a few different third-party memory modules. You know, this company in the UK, is it CGE Micros or someone like that? They sell a module that I showed in a few of these videos now to upgrade these to 4 meg. You know, it bypasses the onboard 1 meg and you just get an additional 4 plugged into the slot between the 2 large connectors. So with the 3020 it could be quite a lot harder to upgrade. They may do a board for the 3020 as well, I don't know, but that's certainly one thing that appeals to me about the 3010. And of course, the other thing with the 3010 is you've got the 2 joystick ports, so this was, you know, definitely aimed at the home market. You can see here this has got a 3D printed backplane on it. I might order one of these for the 3020 as well. I'm assuming it's going to be the same gap. The other thing, while we're here, you know, talking about the differences here as well, I've got a spare base for one of these, a 3010. It's literally just this bottom plastic piece, nothing else. And I thought, oh, maybe we can put that on the 3020, but no, because you can see here, you've got the cutouts different, and where the Ethernet port is on the other, it's kind of like here. I think you might be able to just fit it if you cut that little bit out there, but it'll look weird with the joystick marks there. So they did use a completely separate bottom piece, which seems like a bit of a wasteful design, really, because you probably could have fit an Ethernet port in the gap of one of those there, just about. So yeah, if you're looking at a 3010 or a 3020, I think I would go for the 3010. But surprisingly, this hard disk works really well. I mean, the machine has been absolutely rock solid since we did all the things to it, since it was recapped and stuff. I'm very, very pleased with it. If I didn't own an A3010, I would seriously want to keep this. It's a really nice machine. So the first thing that caught my eye there was key test. I thought, what's that? It's a keyboard test. That would be useful. And in fact, it's not. It's a typing thing. You'll see if I do play. Yeah, this is the sort of thing you would... Look at that word! How am I supposed to spell that? E-H-T-N-O-M-E. That can't be a real blooming word, surely. It's quite hard because I'm so close to the keyboard. Dominate. Banefully. So this is just the sort of thing I would have liked to have used at school when I was learning. Yeah, when you get to the end you're alright, and then it goes into the next level. Like I'm on level 52 now. Orchestrate. Fry. I'm tempted to copy some of these onto floppy disk, actually. I mean, how many of these have been lost to time? I don't know. I would think that, or I'd hope that the discs for some of this educational software would have survived gallantly. Yeah, I could spend all night playing this. It's a bit crazy, isn't it, that I can get enjoyment out of typing. Anyway, you get the idea. The display is crystal clear here as well on a VGA script. Well, it's not really VGA, is it? That's one problem you can have. Obviously, it's stretched out because I'm on a widescreen display here. This is not what this was intended to be used with. All the games and things I've tested from floppy work okay. I had a game of Lemmings before, been playing Pac-Land on it. All the same things you've seen on other videos. But there are some other things on here worth showing as well. The sorts of things, if you use one of these at school, you may have seen it. So like Junior, I think this might be a word processor. Yeah, so you can see, or a desktop publishing, I'm not sure. We've got like a canvas here, I'm guessing. You can put stuff. I don't know, I can't even type. It's alias, that look. It's got anti-aliasing going on it. It's kind of like smoothed out and stuff. Yeah, so that's some sort of word processor slash DTP package. And then we've got Rev Pro there. Let's try that. One of these on here is a spreadsheet, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what this is. Again, it looks like some sort of DTP thing or something. No idea. Post below if you know what that is. TableMate. Is that a spreadsheet? Yeah, I'm not sure what TableMate is. Something for doing tables. Advantage, that's the spreadsheet, I think. Well, yeah, there we go. It kind of looks like Excel, doesn't it? Did you use this when you were at school? I'd be interested to know. Yeah, Advantage. And then we got a science folder at the bottom here. Yeah, there we go. So we've got the serial number and everything. Priory School. So there you go. I was wondering what the school name was, because you know what? Because one thing I did consider, and I'll leave it up to somebody else if they want to do that, what you could do is get a blue paint and very carefully put these dots back in here and spell out Priory School. And you know what? It would look 100 times better than it does at the moment. Actually, I think if that said Priory School and then you did a really tidy job with the dots, I think that would look okay. Which is crazy. I don't think you find me on any of the videos saying, put the school name back on it, it'll look good. Yeah, but I think it would. Someone ruined it by trying to remove the school name. It was a piece of the history. Should have just left it there. So how do you use this now? I don't know. If I just go back to the menu at the bottom. Oh, here we go. So you can see we've got the body on the right hand side and all of the sections and things here. So if we have a look at the nervous system, you can see it tells you where everything is there. Excretory, digestive, blood and lymph. I'm feeling quite ill watching this, actually. Right, let's close that down. And a quick look at plant wise there. So you've got all stuff to do with plants here. Reproduction, let's have a look at that. Yeah, so you've got all the different things: pollination, fertilisation, seed dispersal. Very interesting. There doesn't seem to be much content here that does that. It's just literally, and there must have been some course material that went with it or something. It's literally just, I don't know, pictures. There's really not a lot going on. Okay, you can animate this stuff. That's all right. That's quite interesting. So yeah, I'd be interested to know, did you go to primary school? Did you use this Archimedes? Did anybody use this software? Just going to games. I put a couple of games on here. We've got Starfighter 3000, which was on a floppy disk that came with this. I've kept the disk for testing purposes. Hopefully there'll be enough RAM. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so I've put that on the hard disk along with a copy of Pac-Mania as well. It's amazing how fast it manages to throw these polygons around here. I mean, you've got pretty basic textures and things on stuff, but it's very impressive. If we just let that load a little bit more of the demo here, just watch how fast this goes. It's incredible. Yeah, that is amazing. And of course it looks much better on a proper display. It's been stretched right out here because this is not the right aspect ratio. Get a bit of slow down there, look, on huge explosions. But it really kind of shows how capable the ARM 250 processor was. It runs at 12 megahertz this, whereas the original 3000 runs at 8. So overall, very happy with the end result. Yeah, there's a few marks and things on it. It's not perfect. It's a little bit yellowed, but compared to as it was when I first received it, it's significantly better. And obviously the motherboard is now going to have some resilience as well. You know, it's been recapped. We swapped out those 2 caps on the power supply. I haven't shown you those, but they measure perfectly. The ESR is okay and the capacitance is okay. So I don't think they leaked. So special thanks to Electronash for sending this to me. I will get this up for sale. I'll probably offer it out to patrons first of all, actually. I didn't focus too much on the battery, but I measured it a number of times and it charged up really well, right to 3 volts, and it's holding 3 volts really well. The battery looks like that's been replaced by somebody at some point over the last, I don't know, 5 or 10 years, and it's fine. It holds 3 volts really well, so there's nothing wrong with that battery. It's not the type of battery that would leak. So special thanks to Electronash. I'll be obviously mentioning him a few more times yet in other videos. And a thanks to Xavier as well, because the keyboard here, the spare keyboard, came from Xavier. So very grateful that we've been able to get a really nice keyboard onto this 3020. Anyway, hopefully you found the video interesting. If you'd like to support the channel, please see the Ko-fi and Patreon links down below. I'll catch you in the next video.